Hi everyone, welcome to the Odinic School of Mysteries. My name is Bear. Thank you for coming. I'm really glad you're here. I think this is number... Holy crap, is this 18? Have I done 18 of these? Holy sh... I almost said a naughty word. Holy shit. 18, I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sticking with me for 18 of these things. Honestly, that kind of crept up on me a little bit. All right. Well, so today we're talking about the cult of Saturn, or the Church of Saturn. There's a few things we need to go through before we actually get there. I need to put some things in the context. So I just want to tell you, I just need you to understand that there's some stuff we have to hit on first. Then we can move on to the really juicy stuff. This is the stuff that everyone really wanted to know, which is about the entertainment industry and what's actually going on with, Illuminati and all. Excuse me. Pardon me. With all that, the Illuminati. So, moving right on. Where to start? So, from the outside looking in. Okay. So here's the way we can start this. So, there is a particular brand of YouTube channel. It centers around usually a Judeo-Christian bent. It's likes a lot of conspiracy. It likes symbolism, and they really like kind of occulted knowledge, or at least delving into dealing with that kind of thing. I hesitate to use Jacob as an example because he's actually not a very good example of this. Because he actually is like really good about keeping things sorted the way they're supposed to be. But because I know a lot of you came over from Jacob Israel's channel, he just kind of that brand of channel. When you're looking from the outside looking in, it all appears when you're dealing with esoteric mysticism. And a lot of these organizations, they all seem to be kind of like under one umbrella, or like in one giant soup pot, right? Because the symbolism, the symbols are similar. A lot of the doctrines are similar. There's a lot of things that are similar with all these organizations. So it has the appearance of being like one big cabal, one giant smoke-filled organization everyone is trying to, where all of the members are all sworn to secrecy because they're all trying to take over the world, and that's actually not really the case. There are organizations. So, sorry, I'm struggling a little bit here. So you, like I said before, think of like the esoteric knowledge, the ancient wisdom, as the internet. All right, it's like this underlying data set that is just out there, and all the different esoteric organizations are a little bit like the computers. They're attached to the internet. So you could log into the internet, and so all the computers are still using the same internet, but the computers themselves are separate entities. So a lot of the same stuff that you and I would talk about on this channel are going to be really similar to the stuff that you would hear ancient or like Eastern mystics, you'd hear them talk about. Like if you listen to Sadhguru or Dandapani or some of these other Eastern religion type people, it'll be similar to that. The stuff we talk about here and that the Eastern people will talk about is very similar to some of the same stuff that the Masons will be dealing with if you ever join the Masons, and so on and so forth. It's because they all, even though the themes and the stories and some of the attitudes and cultural things are different, the underlying base code, the internet, is still there. They all partake of the same internet. Does that make sense? So, so you see a lot of, and this is where people get confused because they see all these different organizations and they see all these different symbols, and so they'll mistake, and they're not following a logic trail. They're not wrong in the sense that logically they seem to be the same, but unless you're actually a part of this community for any length of time, it would be really hard to tell that they're separate. So with a lot of these channels, we see them comparing Gnosticism, Freemasonry, Eastern religion, ancient religion, and a lot of these other kind of like organizations, including Christian organizations such as the Catholic Church and Hollywood, Saturnian stuff, which is the stuff we're getting into a little bit later. They see all these symbols, and they think that they're all part of one big thing, and they're not. It's just they all kind of use the same knowledge. But like I've said before, it's a little bit like knowledge is a tool. Wisdom is a tool. Wisdom is transformational knowledge. So it's a little bit like saying, I have a kitchen knife in my kitchen, and I could invite my friends and family over, and I could have a really nice meal, and I could cut up some apples and cut up some dough and take some cinnamon sticks and cut it up really fine, and put it in some sugar cane and cut that up really fine or whatever, and then you put it all together and you bake a pie for my family because I love my family. Or I could take my kitchen knife and go on a killing spree and murder everybody. So it's not the kitchen knife's fault, right? The kitchen knife is just a thing. It's just a thing. It's the consciousness that uses the kitchen knife that really makes the difference. So and this is where we kind of get into kind of the fun stuff, because the Cult of Saturn, having said all of that preamble, the Cult of Saturn is a very unique organization. So when we talk about the Cult of Saturn, there is a phrase that is used concerning Saturn, and particularly Saturn worship and Saturn, the cult that follows them. And this phrase goes like this: his name is Distract and Amuse, and he rides a golden horse. Excuse me. His name is Distract and Amuse, and he rides a golden horse. So when we're dealing with dark occult organizations, there's a bunch of them. And there's 4 major ones, right? And I personally call them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You have the entertainment industry, you have the banking industry, you have big business, corporations, multinational corporations, and government. These are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Now, the Cult of Saturn is the cult that is associated with this particular horse. All right. I'm not saying these are the literal four horsemen of the apocalypse, like they have in Revelation. I realize after I said that I really need to be careful here. I'm not saying these are the literal horses, though they could be. I'm saying that when it comes to the apocalypse of the mind, the beast system, the dark cult mind control system, these are the four horsemen that control it. This one, it is said, the cult of Saturn, his name is Distract and Amuse, and he rides a golden horse. Okay. So, let's continue on with this a little bit. You and I have talked a number of times about what a blind is. A blind, if you remember, is when a mystery school, in order to keep its secrets, deliberately puts over amount of emphasis on certain misleading information to lead you, the observer, to come to a wrong conclusion. Okay, understand that? It's when a mystery school, in order to keep its secrets, deliberately puts an over amount of emphasis on certain misleading information in order to get you to come to a wrong conclusion. So, this industry, the entertainment industry, that is its job. The cult of Saturn, this is its job, is distract and amuse. It's to get you, there's a term for it in spycraft. It's called hide the dancing bear. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. It's where there's something that is so obvious, that is so blatant in your face, that you can't miss it. It's a dancing bear. So what do? You have to create a distraction, something that's even more outlandish, something that's so busy, something that is so beyond the pale that you completely ignore or miss the dancing bear and you follow this other thing. So when we're dealing with high-end esoteric organizations, legacy organizations, ones you can only be born into, these are they want very much to keep their secrets, and in my opinion, they're actually the wrong. They're not true mystery schools, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I doubt anyone's going to correct me on it. I don't think they're true mystery schools. I think their information has been bastardized a long time ago. But I digress. Anyway, so the cult of Saturn's job is distract and amuse. Saturn, the god Saturn, is a fairly interesting guy. So Saturn, which is where we get the word Satan from, interestingly enough, is the god of libation and parties. He's the god of time. He's the god of... that's where we get the word Saturnalia from, which is the original Christmas. Christmas celebration of Saturnalia. He's also called the Dark Sun. So you've heard of Dark Sun organizations. So like the Black Sun of the Nazis, and the Black Sun. There's a lot of cults surrounding the Black Sun. The Dark Sun. He's an interesting guy. So in Gnosticism, he's called Yaldabaoth, or sometimes called Samael in the Gnostic tradition. And he was he's kind of an abandoned child. He's an abandoned child. And so he was kind of left to his own devices. And so he looks around to himself and says, I'm God, I'm all there is. Because he was very briefly, I'm going to skip over a lot of the good stuff. He was the son of basically a goddess. I guess you could call her that. Her name was Pistis Sophia. And when she created him, gave birth to him, she did so without the consent of her other half. And so he was like the scripture actually says in the Gnostic text, that he was like an aborted fetus. This half-made god, basically. And she was so embarrassed by him, she put him far away so that no one could see him. And so he looks around and all he sees is himself. And so the way the story goes is, so he's basically cast down to the land of matter, the physical world that you and I exist in, the underworld. Apologize, excuse me. It's this stuff. And then he proceeds to create and all of this stuff. And so he has this kind of this animus towards his father in heaven, the creator of all things. He has this animus towards his mother, who's a feminine, a goddess. And so he's just this really interesting figure. So what he does, which is really interesting in the scripture, in the Gnostic texts, is that he will look up to heaven and see what the gods are doing. And he's defined by two things. He's defined by his ego, right? So he's blinded by his ego. Actually, his name, Samael, actually means God of the blind. So he's blinded by his ego. He wants to be the most powerful being in the universe. And he wants to copy what everyone else is doing. So he's kind of like a jilted younger brother. I keep trying to look down here for some reason. And that's really kind of an interesting thing. So just as a character study, if you're someone who's interested in relationships and in people, just as a character study, he kind of comes by his angst honestly, if you know what I mean. He has a lot of growing up to do. So he looks up to heaven. He wants to copy the gods. Well, the problem with this is all the stuff he learns is out of context. So he adopts all these other things from all these other gods in order to emulate them. He orders his heavens the way that the gods in heaven order their heavens. He uses their same symbolism. He uses their same methodology, a lot of their same methodology. But he is poisoned by his own ego. And he is someone who is wrapped up in himself. And so everything he sees not only comes out of a place of ignorance and misunderstanding of the point, but on top of that, he where was it going with that? It comes from a place of ignorance. So when we look at the cult of Saturn, so we're talking about sports, music industry, Hollywood. These main thing, these in the music industry. Those main things. So what did I say? It was music industry, Hollywood, sports industry, and I don't remember. I think there's a few other. We see a lot of, it's interesting because they use a lot of the same symbols found in many different esoteric organizations. So you'll watch Katy Perry's halftime show where she's riding a beast and also walking on the checkerboard floor of the House of Solomon from the Masonic Temple, right? So right there you have Judeo-Christian revelation symbolism. You have Freemasonic symbolism. You'll watch Madonna is another one. Her halftime show, she rides in on between the two pillars of Joaquin and Boaz, another Freemasonic symbolism, and a lot of them are crowned. There were crowns. Lady Gaga loves the cult of Saturn. She's a big part of the really inner workings of that. A lot of her stuff is just super dark and full of cult of Saturn symbolism, like full on boxes. So there's a few things that are really associated with the cult of Saturn. Cubes, particularly black cubes, but cubes. Anything that's like a square on a square, and Saturn, the planet Saturn, and I don't know. I can't get into all of that right now. I just don't have enough space in the video. Where am I at? 20 minutes. So it's just really bizarre, right? You watch some of these things and you're like, why are they using the all-seeing eye? That doesn't make any sense. It's all over the place. They put it on their hands. They put it in the background of their shows. Kesha loves. I think she has an all-seeing eye tattooed on her hand somewhere. Madonna, I saw one of her videos where she has like an eye patch with an X on it, covering her eye. It's a lot of this, and the reason why people believe, they think that the cult of Saturn is this super elite organization is because they see all these symbols as put right in front of their faces, and they're led to a fairly honest conclusion that they are really in to know. But the problem is, they're not. They're not in to know. It's a blind. The whole thing is designed as a blind. The people who are in that level of the entertainment industry. Okay, so one thing I need to clear up. Not everyone who's in the entertainment industry is in the cult of Saturn. Sorry to break it to you, it's just not the case. All right, the ones who are in the cult of Saturn, because they can't stop showing it off. It's like in everything they do. It's it's hard to miss is what I'm trying to say. But for those people who are in that level of the organization, or basically, I hate to use this term, but the house slaves of Rome, right? Their balls are literally strapped to golden handcuffs. They can't do anything without permission. Their careers are so tightly controlled they can't move or breathe. They have sold their souls to nothingness, to a half-baked god, literal half-baked god. And it's quite interesting. It's just really bizarre. They're the false prophets, I guess is what you could say. All the other ones, there's a lot more going on there. I'm not saying that they're right, but the glorification of what's it called? Of taboos, right? Glorification of taboos. Set indiscriminate sexual behavior. Love of libation and drunkenness all the time. Love of partying all the time. Just the party lifestyle, everything's a hoot. Why not? That lifestyle is all Saturnian behavior. And when we see celebrities and these people engaging in that, that is exactly what's going on. It's the cult of Saturn. And that's really the big lie, is the thing. Is people, again, we come back to the multi-soul idea. We covered that a little bit ago, where your body is has its own consciousness and its own spirit. Your body loves that shit. It loves it. Of course it wants to have sex, right? Your lower brain, way down here, your lizard brain, the snake on the staff right here, we call it the dead Odin. It's the Odin as he hangs on the world tree is the lower brain, the lizard brain, the Abdullah. It's the part that controls fight or flight. It's the part that controls the need to feed. It controls all your autonomics. And it doesn't have any feelings at all. And so it's the instinctual part of your brain. And it wants sex. It wants to have as much sex as possible. It wants to feel as good as possible. It wants to do the least amount of work as possible. It loves luxury. It loves all those things. And so, of course, you think you want that. Your body thinks it wants that. But your spirit hates it. It hates it. And that's why you look at these people. I mean, they look, sure, it looks glamorous, right? Wearing ridiculous clothes and going to nightclubs and all that, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm too tired. I can't imagine wanting to do that. Anyway, their eyes are dead. They're dead-eyed people. You know, it's like what Jesus talked about that one point where he was like, so what have you gained when you've gained the whole world but lost your soul? You know? And that's kind of where we're at with this. Is you've sold yourself out, they've sold themselves out to a half-dead God, and who hates his mother, hates his father, hates the creator of all things, hates divinity, glories in base consciousness activities, and wants you, you know, more's a party. He wants you to revel in that stuff too. And the thing is, you know, his name means a lot, God of the blind. If you don't know better, these people look like they're in something important, right? They look like they have like all these like hidden knowledge and this secret wisdom, and they do the hand symbols, and they're not told stuff. You think they know stuff? You think they're into some deep secret knowledge? No. They're definitely told some secrets, but they're not told the mysteries of the universe. They're not told shit. They're told to show up on stage, perform, and slave themselves out to their masters, which are the other three, which are the business guys, the bankers, and the government. No, it's like, and people want to be a part of that, which is crazy. They think, okay, I'll let you on a little secret. People think money is power. Here's the thing. I want you to pay real close attention here. Money is not power. True power, the real power in the universe. If you truly have power, real power, nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can take it away from you. And that's the big secret. That's the big secret. That's the thing that no one ever wants to say, right? Money is a pointless enterprise. I've said it again and again and again. It's false power. Government. And by government, I don't mean, organizing yourself in order to make life easier on each other. That's not what I mean. By government, I mean, how do I say this without sounding crazy? Because I'm not really for anarchy. I'm not an anarchist. Well, I guess you could say I don't know how to describe it. But government is the way that it is imposed today, right here, today, is false power. Is false power. We're starting to see the Saturnian way of life inking its way into the government system, where it's all a show. It's all a glorious show to keep you from seeing the dancing bear, right? Real power can never be taken from you. So if you think money is power, that could be taken from you. If you think influence is power, that could be taken from you. If you think government is power, brute force is power, that could be taken from you. All those things can be taken from you. Real power, true power cannot. And the true esoteric organizations, the real ones, the ones you've never heard of before, you won't see any of their symbols unless they're shown to you. Organizations like mine and many others that are out there that our masters are filled by the humblest of people, right? The guy who's your cashier at the grocery store could be the master of masters, the knower of all the wisdom, and you wouldn't even know it, because true power, real power, doesn't need to prove itself to anybody. So I think of it like, sorry for the tangent, but this is important. So think of it like you're playing with your little Lego men, right? You have a little Lego man. How often do you, when you're playing with a little Lego man and putting them in spaceships and stuff, how often do you have to like stop, look at your little Lego man and say, Lego man, I need you to know that I'm the boss. And that if you displease me, I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to take all your money away. Real power doesn't do that. It wouldn't even occur to you to do that because you already know you're in control. Right? So what? So what? Your little Lego man thinks he's boss and that he's almighty and he's going to go take over the world with his legion of spaceships over here. He's created for himself. You let him have an ego. You let him do what he wants because you're the boss. You have power. Doesn't even occur to you to have to like try and put him in his place. And it's the same thing. And the true esoteric organizations aren't flashy. You would never know they were there. You would never know that they were there. Look at me. Right? I'm pretty average looking. The only reason you know that I'm a part of an esoteric organization is because I told you so. The only reason you know that I'm a part of an esoteric organization or any of my symbolism, any of the symbolism that comes with the I have a hard time talking. The only reason you know any of the esoteric symbolism and stories or any of the stuff that we've covered in this program and programs like it is because I've told you so. I've told you I was a part of it. And so those are the real ones, right? They're the people you'll never hear about. You'll never see. They just live ordinary lives. Farmers, people pumping gas, those kind of folk who know all the mysteries of the universe, but understand the nature of reality. And so, do you think they need to use all that knowledge to gain wealth for themselves? Not particularly. They don't care about the stuff that's here. They don't care about having wealth. They don't care about making sure you know that they have a golden crown that's encrusted with jewels and dangling with pearls and a golden dress made from, murder. I don't know. It's just, ugh. It drives me crazy. But, the cult of Saturn, they do the job well. Everyone thinks that's what an esoteric organization is. Everyone thinks that is what the occult looks like. And it just drives you crazy, especially if you've been in one for a real one before. It makes you just want to bang your head against the wall because you see these, I'm going to wrap this up. But like you see these YouTubers, and they'll like pull up some nonsense from some music video, and they'll point it out and say, "Oh, look, so and so they're using Masonic symbolism in their music video. Ooh, it's all part of the Illuminati they're all trying to like tell us this stuff, and it's all woo woo. It's like, no, dude, no. They'll throw phrases around like "as above, so below," the "as above, so below" system, and you're just like, what are you talking about? Um, I don't know. I've gone on for too long. I'm sorry for that, but it's just it gets it's just interesting. It's an interesting character study, which is why I am really fascinated by the Cult of Saturn in particular. It's just because their god is just a really interesting guy, I guess you could say. He's not someone you'd really want to hang around with, but he's someone that's really interesting to study, if you know what I mean. So, okay, I'll probably do a few more of these. Probably not in a series like I did last time, but they're really cool. Just to kind of go into some of these organizations, like I might do one on the Masons, and maybe a few of the others. There's not really a lot of them out there. Most of the organizations are like mine that we don't keep in touch. There's not a mailing list. I think I think there is a Commission mystery school in is it Nevada? Somewhere in the Southwest. I think there's a pretty big one. The Commission mysteries are the Egyptian mysteries. There's a few of them out there, true esoteric ones. But I mean, heck, I don't. It's not like I call them up or anything. All right, I keep wanting to talk. I'm sorry. Well, I hope you all have a really great day. I love you all very much. Thank you for coming to joining me on this episode and watching to the end if you did. And thank you for listening to me ramble. I really appreciate you guys. You're really good people, and thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.